In 1922, a 15-year-old boy started working at a car repair shop in Tokyo. The owner had doubts about him and gave him simple tasks like cleaning and babysitting. However, that boy, Soichiro Honda, would later compete with big car companies and even own the largest motorcycle manufacturing company in the world. This is the story of how a poor Japanese boy became the founder of the multi-billion-dollar brand Honda Motors. Chapter 1. Growing Up Poor. The story starts in 1906 in a small village called Tenryo Shizuoka, at the foot of Mount Fuji, where Soichiro Honda was born to Gihei Honda and his wife. Soichiro's father was a local blacksmith who also fixed bicycles, and his mother was a skilled weaver. They faced tough times financially, and sadly, Soichiro lost 5 of his siblings to health problems while growing up. When Soichiro was 8 years old, he heard a strange noise that caught his attention. He followed the sound and discovered a big machine, the Ford Model T, rolling along on 4 wheels. This experience left a lasting impression on him and ignited his fascination with machines. He learned how to sharpen farm machinery blades and fix bicycles. And he loved all kinds of engines and motors. Soichiro didn't like going to school, and instead of focusing on his education, he spent most of his time helping his father with the bicycle repair business. His disinterest in school led to poor grades, so he used rubber to forge his family stamp on his grade reports to hide his bad marks. When he was caught, his father punished him by making him kneel for an entire day without lunch. In 1922, at the age of 15, Soichiro saw an ad for a Tokyo-based car servicing company called Art Shokai. Believing they might need new workers, he wrote them a letter inquiring about a job and received a positive response. Soichiro made the bold decision to drop out of school, leave home, and head to Tokyo to pursue his dreams. Chapter 2. Art Shokai. When Soichiro arrived in Tokyo, he was amazed by the fast-paced and different city life compared to his village. The shop's owner, Yuzo Sakakibara, already had a job for him, babysitting his child. Soichiro felt disappointed because he wasn't earning any money and was only tasked with carrying the baby on his back. However, he didn't want to go back home as a failure and face his parents, so he stayed. As time passed, the owner couldn't keep up with the high demand of his automobile business, so he finally asked Soichiro for help. Soichiro started with small tasks, but he worked hard and became a trusted mechanic at the company. The owner noticed his talent and dedication and decided to mentor him in both mechanical repairs and the business side of things. Back then, cars were considered a luxury that only rich people could afford, and most of the cars were imported. Soichiro got to work with various types of cars, including Lincolns, Mercedes, Daimlers, and motorcycles in the workshop. He was eager to learn and put in a lot of effort to expand his knowledge and skills. Through the company, Soichiro also got introduced to the world of motorsports. During this time, motorsports were gaining popularity in Europe, America, and Japan. In 1923, Sakakibara and his workers, including Soichiro, started building racing cars. They created their first model, the Art Daimler, using a second-hand Daimler engine. Their second model, the Curtiss, was made by placing an American Curtiss biplane engine on the chassis of another American car, the Mitchell. The Curtiss participated in the 5th Japanese Motor Car Championship in 1924, and with Sakakibara's brother as the driver and Soichiro as the engineer, it secured a stunning first position. This experience was special for the 17-year-old Soichiro and ignited his passion for motorsports, which became a religion to him from then on. Chapter 3. Striking Out on His Own. In 1926, Soichiro got drafted for military service, but he couldn't join because he was colorblind, so he continued working at Art Shokai. In 1928, Yuzo Sakakibara wanted to expand his business and asked Soichiro, who was just 21 years old, to run the new branch in Hamamatsu. At first, it was tough for Soichiro's repair shop to attract customers because they were hesitant to trust someone so young and new. He had to work with the leftover jobs from other shops. But Soichiro used all his knowledge and skills to improve the business. And by 1930s, his shop had grown from a one-person operation to a team of 30 people. Soichiro was not only a great mechanic, but also an excellent racing driver. He set a new speed record by driving the Hamamatsu race car up to 120 kilometers per hour, a record that stood for 20 years in Japan. Unfortunately, racing was dangerous, and Soichiro had a serious accident in June 1936. He was badly injured and spent a few months in the hospital recovering. Despite the risks, he returned to the racetrack 4 months later, but his family didn't approve of him racing and he eventually gave it up. By 1936, Soichiro wanted to move beyond repair work and start manufacturing car parts. He suggested turning the Art Shokai Hamamatsu branch into a separate company for this purpose, but the shareholders disagreed. They thought the current repair work was profitable enough and didn't want to take a risk on a new venture. So, Soichiro decided to start his own company, Tokai Seiki Heavy Industry, to manufacture piston rings. He made his close friend, Shichiro Kato, the president of the company. Chapter 4: Learning from Mistakes. Soichiro and Kato worked very hard in their new venture, starting the Art Piston Ring Research Center. Soichiro still spent his days at the repair workshop and his nights developing pistons. They faced many challenges and struggled to make progress. The constant work took a toll on Soichiro, making him lose weight and look emaciated. In 1939, after many failures, Soichiro finally created a successful working piston. He left his job at Art Shokai and focused on his new company. Although he produced pistons regularly, they weren't of good enough quality. Toyota asked him to make pistons for them, but out of the 50 he submitted, only 3 met their standards. Despite setbacks, Soichiro kept going and sought knowledge from various sources to improve his manufacturing skills. Eventually, his pistons met high-quality standards, and orders flooded in from all over the country. His company grew, employing about 2,000 people to keep up with the demand. However, during the Pacific War in 1941, Japan took control of his company, and Toyota acquired a significant stake, demoting Soichiro. As the war intensified, many of his male employees were drafted, and the company struggled. In 1944, air raids hit Japan, and Soichiro's factory was destroyed. In 1945, the Nankai earthquake further damaged his Iwanta plant. After Japan surrendered, Soichiro decided to sell what was left of his company to Toyota for 450,000 yen. He announced his plan to take a break and contemplate the uncertain future as Japan was in ruins. Chapter 5: A Visionary Idea. A year after the war, Japan faced a severe economic crisis. The people struggled to get basic necessities like food, clothes, and shelter. Soichiro was affected too, and he couldn't even find enough gas to drive his car to buy food for his family. One day, he came across a generator engine used by the Japanese Imperial Army during the war to power up a wireless radio. He was fascinated by it and got an idea. What if he could attach this engine to a bicycle? Although this wasn't a completely new idea, as people in Europe had already done similar things, Soichiro believed that Japan needed affordable transportation. In 1946, he started the Honda Technical Research Institute in his old warehouse with 12 staff members. They worked on his idea and successfully created motorbikes using spare parts and engines they found. These motorbikes became very popular, and orders started pouring in from all over the country. As the demand grew, Soichiro ran out of used engines, so he decided to design his own. In 1947, he completed the Type A engine, and for the very first time, the Honda name appeared on a machine. This would go on to mark the beginning of the Honda motorbike success story. Chapter 6: The Honda Motor Company. Soichiro started the Honda Motor Company in 1948 with the goal of making motorcycles to help Japanese workers move around. But he needed more money to expand, so he wrote a letter to all the bicycle shop owners in Japan asking for support. About 3,000 shops responded positively and provided the money he needed to start producing motorcycles. Their first complete motorcycle, the Model D, was a significant achievement, but it was too big and heavy, so only a few people bought it. Soichiro wasn't happy with this, so he worked hard to create a smaller and lighter bike. After 3 years of trying, he succeeded in building the Super Cub, which became a huge hit and won the Emperor's Prize. Soichiro also joined forces with the investor Takeo Fujisawa, who provided capital and helped with financial and marketing strategies. The Super Cub made its way to the United States in 1958, selling for only $295, a quarter of the price of other American motorcycles. Thanks to smart marketing and engineering, it outsold both Triumph and Harley-Davidson in their home markets. Not content with just motorcycles, Soichiro expanded into racing. He studied his competitors' motorcycles and worked hard to surpass their achievements. Honda's success on the racetrack, including winning the Isle of Man TT, helped make the Honda name famous. By the 1960s, Honda became the biggest motorcycle company in the world, producing 10 million motorcycles by 1968. But Soichiro had an even bigger dream since he was 8 years old, and that is to enter the car-making industry. Chapter 7: Pursuing Childhood Dreams. When Soichiro decided to enter the automobile market, many people warned him it was risky and suggested sticking to motorcycles. At that time, Japan already had established car companies like Nissan and Toyota. Japan officials even tried to persuade Soichiro that the country didn't need another car manufacturer, but he didn't listen and went ahead anyway. In 1963, Honda released its first automobile, the T360 mini truck. However, it didn't gain much popularity. Soon after, they introduced their first sports car, the S500, a small and smooth roadster. Unfortunately, only around 1,300 of these cars were made, making them rare. Similar to their motorcycles, Honda entered the world of racing, with the RA271 Formula 1 car debuting in 1964. Within a year, they achieved their first victory at the Mexican Grand Prix with the RA272. Despite their racing success, Honda still faced tough competition in the car market. They took a break from racing and focused on building one of their most successful cars, the Honda Civic. The Honda Civic was launched in 1972 and became incredibly popular worldwide, especially during the 1970s oil crisis. Soichiro developed the compound vortex controlled combustion (CVCC) system, allowing the Civic to travel longer distances while using less fuel. The Civic also addressed pollution issues by incorporating catalytic converters, setting Honda apart from other automakers at the time. While the Civic is popular out of necessity, it was the Honda Accord that truly transformed the game. Originally a compact hatchback, the Accord expanded to sedans and became one of the best-selling sedans in automotive history. It shared the fuel efficiency of the Civic but offered better comfort and interior space. By the early 1980s, Honda was the third largest car producer in Japan, and by the end of the decade, it became the third largest globally. Soichiro Honda retired in 1973 and passed away in 1991. Honda's success extended beyond automobiles as the company expanded into various industries, including jets, boat engines, power equipment, and robots. And there you have it, the inspiring story of the persevering Soichiro Honda, the man behind the famous Japanese motorcycle manufacturer. I hope you enjoyed today's video, and if you did, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. Thanks for watching, I'll see you in the next one.